Yeah. It's quiet in here.
It is. That's way soft.
Well, now it's, yeah.
We're live.
He wants bongos.
I feel like I should whisper. We're live. We're live, Facebook. Welcome to the Whine Show. Yes, the only show where you can be offended and friended all in the same hour. America, we have a problem. I call it the zero to Nazi effect. You know what I'm talking about. That's in any conversation, especially on social media, where there's a disagreement. It's a length of time that it takes to go from zero to you're a Nazi. I will now punch you in the face, go outside, and set fire to your car. This is how we do things in America. It's just that's the way we roll, right? Disagree, I don't like you, I'm going to riot and, I don't know, burn something. That's just...
We're just going to keep matches and all sorts
Yes,
of flame-producing devices away
We're
from
going to
you.
be pyromaniacs.
Right.
And the fuel does not help.
We can sell a kit at like Walgreens, the disagreement kit. It's just lighter fluid and a lighter.
What a pyro.
Seems like we're at an impasse. You have anything I can set on fire?
And you weren't going to get into this week, did you? Yeah.
Well, we have a solution here on the Whine Show. It's wine! Glorious, beautiful wine. In vino veritas. To flex my Latin, it's the only phrase I know. In wine truth. You see, we're going to sit down together. Folks from all different walks of life, all different persuasions of thought, and we're going to share ideas all over a great glass of wine. And we're going to teach America how to disagree civilly. That's the solution, folks. So stay tuned.
Beautiful segue.
Right? Stay tuned, because today we have a really fun topic. I mean, this is an interesting topic, I got to say.
Relax, Steve. It's
There may be some blush moments in the show. Our wives are tuning in,
Don't
right?
worry, women. I'm
Right?
representing. Okay?
Yeah,
My wife's right over there, so I got to be careful.
Right, the wife
Tony's
is.
wife's over there.
The wife is in.
She's not far.
She's got objects within reach that she can
My
throw.
wife is 30 miles away, so I'm like lucky.
Okay, so this is a sensitive topic that we are talking about today, and we're going to pin the topic in the top of the top of the feed here for latecomers. But today's topic is 3 to 5% of all of the animal kingdom are monogamous. Only 3 to 5% of all the animal kingdom is monogamous. Should humans be monogamous? Is this the right idea? Have we been exercising the best method, so to speak, for humanity? That's what we're talking about on today's show. So you guys start chiming in the feed here. Let us know what your thoughts are. Only 3 to 5% of the population is monogamous.
Animal population.
Right, animal. Yeah. It's probably not too far off with the.
Only 3% of this group is
No, I am.
Yeah, with humans, it's like 7 or 8% at least. So.
I'm banging my tongue.
You bite that tongue right
So,
now, Steve.
yes, animal kingdom. Only 3 to 5% of the animal kingdom is monogamous. Should humans be? Chime in with your thoughts on this. Let us know what you think. And it's going to be an interesting show. It's going to be an interesting show. So, I'm going to give my guests the opportunity to introduce themselves, give a shameless plug for anything they want, because that is part of their exorbitant pay package that we have on the show. That and all the wine they can drink. I mean, it's exorbitant in its pay package.
That is a win-win.
Yeah. So, start to my left over here, and I'm going to start pouring some wine. Introduce yourself, Kwame.
Hey everybody, my name is Kwame Jackson. I'm from Houston, Texas, born in New Orleans. I'm in school to become a clinical psychologist, and I have a website right now based around lifestyle and mental health. It's kwamejackson.us. So just if you ever want to learn anything about becoming just like a better, well-rounded human being, go check it out. Yeah? Good?
That was good.
Thanks.
You're good.
That's good.
I'm going to check it out. I
Same
need
for
to do
everybody
that.
else. That's all.
Should I go?
Yeah.
Yes.
I'm Toni Lentini. I'm kind of retired. Still do a little bit of work for some friends, but I'm kind of retired and I'm liking it. I don't have anything to plug. I had a full career in the oil and gas business, and I did corporate communications and helping companies get started in foreign countries.
All right, all right.
Interesting. I am Tony with an I. He is Tony with the Y, just in case you get confused. I'm a real estate agent with Century 21 Realty Partners in Woodlands. I have 35 years in the competitive dance industry, so I'm kind of an artist slash businesswoman, entrepreneur, and I'm starting my own fitness video series called Stretch Your Lifestyle. And I'm all about health and fitness and working moms, so go girl power.
There you go. Steve.
Hi. How are you?
And it's
been a while.
It has been a while.
Yeah.
You've missed a couple shows.
Well, yeah. My name is Steve Williams, and I guess my shameless plug for today, for those that know what I do for a living, I need you to turn this way just a little bit. And let's frame in what we have here is my shameless plug.
He brought props!
If you live in Texas Congressional District 22, this is the guy. So that's all I'm going to say. Do the research, DannyForCongress.com. Go research it. Make up your mind. I can tell you why if you want to ask me. So anyway, that's my shameless plug, and take it away, Joe.
All right. Well, I'm going to introduce the wine today, and then I'm going to give the guests the moment here to kind of sum up their thoughts on the subject. We're going to give a 1-minute bullet point on what your thoughts are, and then we're going to come back to you guys on the feed and get your thoughts. Today's wine, I am so looking forward to. This wine is called, and we're going to see if we can get a close-up of this. I don't know how much we can do here. The Coorong Reserve, Southeastern Australia Chardonnay. It's one of my all-time favorite wines that I've ever had, and hands down my favorite Chardonnay I've ever had was a wine called Ugalila. Well, that was the vintner, which was another Southeastern Australia Chardonnay. Absolutely delicious. It was a 5, and I forgot what it rated on the show, but it was super high. It was like a 4.75. This is another Southeastern Australia Chardonnay I'm really looking forward to. Some quick thoughts on it. This wine is, it says this wine is a very nice Australian Chardonnay blended with 10% Similon. I don't even know what that is. I should have looked that up. It's a beautiful wine from the southeast Australian coast where the finest wines of Australia come from. It's kind of like the Sonoma of Australia. This pale wine is lightly colored and smells wonderfully of citrus and peach with some very light oak tones. If you don't like oak-filled Chardonnay, this one will be a treat. Crisp, refreshing, with white peach and nutmeg nuances. You'll feel like you're looking out over the Australian coast. So, that is what we're going to be trying out today on the show. Guests, if you will, let's clink to a good show real quick. Yeah, and there we go. All right. And take a whip of this.
I didn't get a clink.
Yeah.
Tony to Tony.
Tony to Tony. All right. We're going to get a quick smell of this. A little sip.
Oh, this is real. We take this seriously. This is a real deal.
I like that.
Wow.
Those
okay.
tannins, though.
Okay.
Whoa.
Yes.
Yep.
Did that
All right. So
affect you differently?
So.
Okay.
Well, we I should have let it decant a little while earlier, but nevertheless, we're going to be sipping on this now for the next few minutes, but kind of start getting the idea in your head for the end of the show. Okay. End of the show, guys, we're going to rate this. You're going to want to make sure to follow the Whine Show on Instagram. Hop over there and just type in Whine Wine. You'll find us. That is the only place where I post tomorrow after the show. I'll post a picture of the wine, a rating from the show, and a quick review. And give you guys thoughts on the wine. That's where that resides, so you want to make sure you follow us over there. So, diving in. I've given enough stall time here.
Goodness.
You know,
I liked it. It was quiet.
This is one of those topics
We
where
can sit here and drink the wine and look at the camera
it's
and go,
peaceful. It's about to get crazy.
This is one of those topics where everybody says, "Oh yeah, we need to talk about that." Wait, I have to talk. I have to voice an opinion. I'm absolutely, honey, happily married, and monogamy is all the way we should go. There's my opinion.
That's what he's saying right now.
There we go.
okay, it's nice to see everybody. Let's go.
Yeah, that's it.
All right.
Yeah, it was a great show. Great show, everybody.
Wait, wasn't the question posed if we as human beings should be monogamous?
Yes.
What
Should
was-
we be?
I don't.
So look. So here's the
understand
question. It says only 3 to 5% of the animal kingdom is monogamous. Should humans be? Should we be monogamous? That's.
Are we wired to be monogamous?
Well,
are we designed?
That's designed,
I
wired,
think so. I think so.
genetics, however you want to phrase it. Is this what we're wired for? Are we
Okay,
wired
if
to
we're
be
not,
monogamous?
What is the alternative?
Polyamorous, right? So
Roman orgies.
That is a difficult.
where
Wait, polyamorous sounds glamorous. It may not be.
Multiple.
I'm just throwing that in there.
I was-
I'm him.
I was down at
I'm faking my.
Multi-love.
I was down on
I'm faking. Okay.
I was down on Fifth.
But
I was down on Fifth Avenue and I stopped in Saks and I picked me up some polyamorous.
because it sounded
It
glamorous.
was glamorous.
I think we just made
All
a
of
new
it.
term here.
Okay,
It started
All the
about
hip and
an hour
trendy
ago.
people are doing it.
Yeah.
I think I'm going to go on no serious because this has been a topic that's been on my mind for about the last 72 hours. I think religion plays a very, very important part in how we see human nature. You know, as we have evolved, religion has evolved. It's become more diverse. So our understanding has become much more conditioned to accept other lifestyles and other ways of living versus when our parents were growing up. That was a different time. I mean, it was even taboo then to be divorced. I mean, and this is right, Mom, if you're out there. That's what she would tell me, that it was that kind of real negative thing. It was, you were born as, or raised as little girls. You know, you're going to grow up and meet your knight in shining armor, and you're going to live happily ever after. You're going to get married in the eyes of God, and you're going to be together forever and ever and ever. And that's kind of how the culture raised, at least as a Catholic, that's how we were raised to believe in things. So I think a lot has to do with the time. I don't believe our children now and the millennials now actually believe 100% the way we believed then.
Okay, there's Tony's 1 minute bullet point.
And now I'm going to drink that. Okay.
We already have some great comments going by. I was like, I was trying not to chuckle during that because I'm like, oh, she's saying serious stuff. I don't want to sound like I'm laughing.
I'm a serious
but,
person.
But there's some great comments
I'm
going
very
by.
serious
There's some great
about this.
comments going by. Okay,
Joe, may I
Steve, yes.
dovetail into that?
Well, give your 1 minute bullet point on where you're
Okay.
standing.
My 1 minute bullet point.
Yes.
Go. All right. I want to dovetail my answer in with Tony with an I. When we talk about the human species being wired, from a animalistic standpoint, our species is, I think, just as, is it polymorphic or
Polyamorous.
polyamorous
Cracker.
as the next animal
Polycracker.
species, but due to our increased brain capacity, our intellectual ability to think through an issue, a problem, our culture, our society have not so much handcuffed us, but we have developed into a, yes, it is a more acceptable to be monogamous in your relationship and not polyamorous. I guess that's where I'm going with this. So to be wired, that would be more of a biological function, but to be socially and culturally, I think we're more monogamous, and we don't deviate from that construct.
Well, especially if you're married. Let me
Of
throw
course.
that in. Let me throw that
It's always a
in.
good idea.
Yeah.
That's
We're
my
missing
bullet
that
point.
concept.
There you go.
Yeah, there
Yes,
you go.
we already had
Come
some.
on, guys.
We already had some pre-show conversation. I don't know
That's
if
right.
Tony with a Y wants to divulge in that conversation, but
He was in the oil and gas industry. Can I throw that out again?
There's a whole another set of conversation we can have on that side of the room. So moving to the side of the room, bullet point where you're at, Kwame. Give it your thoughts.
I'm still kind of not sure where to go exactly on this. I don't think that we are
In case any of his female friends are watching.
That's right.
Yeah, they're all on Instagram, not Facebook. So.
Okay, so you're good. You're good.
Oh yeah, because old people are
That's
on
right.
Facebook.
That's
Oh
right.
yeah, we heard that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's a true story.
That's
Yeah,
a good joke.
You're so lucky because
Oh,
I
she's
was
from
planning
Instagram.
on dual broadcasting today.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
Oh, dang.
just had a snag before it was going to be on.
Yeah, I definitely took that
We're
into
reading
consideration. Design, and just so everybody knows where I'm coming from, when I turned 20, I was reading Rene Descartes' first Meditations in Philosophy, and he went through this process where he
Cogito sum
bracketed
ergo sum.
all of his belief systems,
Yeah, it was
and then just kind of
brilliant.
move forward from there. And so I somehow was able to manifest that in my life. So that's what I built my current belief system on. Right. So I think honesty at the end of the day is what's most important when it comes to relationships.
Mhm.
Being clear about what you're wanting and what you're experiencing, because a lot of the urges and stuff that we feel, I mean, it feels pretty natural. You know what I'm saying? And then we feel like we're wrong for wanting or feeling like we like someone else. But just being open about those feelings is what's most important. But I think what's most practical and productive is monogamy. But I don't think that you shouldn't have a polyamorous experience for a period of your life, because I think that it serves some.
Sure.
It's called dating.
It's called college.
Yeah,
Dating.
It's
Right.
called
College.
maturity.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, no, see,
It's called
wouldn't
dating.
go-
It's called
Stability.
dating.
level,
Sure.
yeah, I wouldn't
Yeah,
go.
sure.
Is monogamy more stable
No, I
than...
know a lot of immature polyamorous people. I don't think it comes
yeah.
from
What would the
maturity.
irony look like if I were to say
Sorry.
That's okay.
that I want to play the devil's advocate to that argument by making a religious argument? So,
Okay, that
Okay.
but I'll come back to it. I'll come back to it. We're getting bullet point thoughts on this, so we're going to come to you guys here. There's tons of comments
Wow,
already
yeah.
gone by, fun stuff and good comments. But you guys chime in because I'm seeing a lot of it here. 3 to 5% of the animal kingdom is monogamous. Only 3 to 5%. Should humans be? That's what we're talking about. You chime in with your thoughts. I'm about to jump into the comment feed and start sharing some of your thoughts. You guys are as much of the show as the guests on the show. You just don't get to drink the great wine. So drink your own wine. Tony with a Y.
With a Y.
Yes.
I don't know whether we're wired or not to be a certain way, but what I do know is because we're humans and we're thinking human beings, there are certain social, societal structures set up that are all aimed toward being able to raise children, get them grown up alive and healthy, and hopefully productive members of society, and that requires a stable family. I think every you can look at any kind of statistic. If people don't have a stable family, they're less likely to be healthy, happy children, and they're a lot more likely to have problems. So I think that's why society has wired us, society, religion, to be monogamous after we're done dating.
All right. So we've got a pretty interesting spread of thoughts here right off the bat from the beginning. There were some common points with everybody. And then there's some points of contention. Absolutely. So I want to jump into the feed here. Scott Apley, who's been on the show, great guest, always has some great thoughts. Scott, welcome to the show. David Pipkin, Ed Camp, Joanna. I have not seen you tune in for a while. It's so good to see you back again. Joanna always has some great thoughts. Josue Reyes, not Jose. Josue Reyes joined. Yep. There was just nothing to do with anything. This is the rabbit trail brain that is Joe's mind. At church, I had a guy that was a friend of mine, Jorge, and another guy that was Josue, and I'm Joe, which is Jose, and I would always say at the end of like a band rehearsal, it was just like church wasn't happening, but at band rehearsal, it was like, okay, guys, we're finished. We'll wrap up. We'll be back in 10. And I would get on the mic and I would say, and now Jose, Josue, and Jorge will perform an interpretive dance. And for me, that was hilarious. So
I need to work on that.
I think after like week 2, it was really old to everybody else. But for me, it was very funny. So anyway, that's how Joe's mind works. You just caught a glimpse inside Joe's head right there. Danielle.
It isn't pretty.
Yes, it isn't pretty.
Hi, Danielle.
Danielle. Woohoo, Tony. Okay, David Pipkin is chiming in. David, I don't know if you're playing tonight at Casa Nueva. If you are, chime in with that. We always give him a shameless plug. He helps out with the show a lot. And so he's chiming in here. He says, I can answer this one very quickly. You've met my wife. My life is completely dependent on remaining monogamous. End of story. I think.
Well, we know that if he was here on the panel, it would be about a 5-minute show.
Yes. David, I'm right there with you, David. Ben, welcome to the show. Scott wants to know how your running man is, because you were talking about being a competitive dance instructor. So
I can run a man with the best.
Yes. She competes in a Mortal Kombat dance thing where you finish finish off. There's weapons involved.
Competitive dance, real competitive dance. No Running Man, no Mortal Kombat.
I'm interpreting her story.
No dab. No.
Alex, behind the scenes there, Alex Alvarez. Great time for me to give a shameless plug. Alex Alvarez is part of. And as soon as I went to say that, thank you, Altered State Productions. As soon as I went to say the name, I went brain dead. Altered State Productions is a sponsor of the show, helping out promote the show, doing a phenomenal job. If you guys need any kind of video work, anything like that, Altered State Productions, way to go. Ed Camp, being the constant goofball he is. Ed has also been on the show a couple times. Great guy. Does wine make you want to go down under?
Whoa.
Because we're drinking wine from down under. Yes,
America.
Yes. Joanna.
Is that a real statistic?
Chiming in. No, it's a joke. Read the.
That's an Ed Camp.
That's a camp.
That's
a campism. Yes.
Campism.
Joanna chimed in with a great thought here.
Campism.
Joanna said, I think the good thing is we have a choice as humans. For sure, there should be transparency in whatever relationship you start with someone, so it is clear what each one is expecting from the relationship. If partners have an agreement on monogamy or polygamy, and both agree with one or the other, then there shouldn't be a problem. Trust, communication, and transparency are the most important thing. Not hurting your partner in what are the core values for you, either polygamy or monogamy, is of extreme importance. Yeah, that should be almost like a bold.
Took that to another level.
A bold and underlined.
That's a whole other conversation.
I would
and
think
we can get there.
I would think that instinctively human beings are desiring of a monogamous relationship.
Sure, you want someone to make the choice.
Right.
Well,
but
hang on.
There are times that you get tempted, and that creates that social. Cultural kind of a deviation.
I don't disagree.
It develops. I
don't disagree. That's subject for the group's conversation.
I'm throwing it out there.
Yes, you're jumping ahead. It's all right.
Sorry. I tend to do that. At least I'm jumping.
Ed Camp with his humor here. 95% of men cheat in America. The other 5% cheat in Europe. So he has a very positive view of men in America. Scott chiming in with the thought. Scott said 1A's. I don't know what that is. 1A's.
One.
Members.
One.
Well, put the wine down.
Thank you.
That's it. You
one
cut
A's.
While I am bald, I used to be blonde. As members of the animal kingdom, monogamy is not a natural trait. Our survival and reproductive instincts drive us against it. But the ability to reason and our religious faith, for many, and understand the benefits for family and safety in society. So, as higher evolved creatures, we choose monogamy for those benefits. So we can jump back to that.
Safer.
Laura, thank you for tuning in. Esther is letting you know on this subject she is here.
Boom.
Steve's wife has chimed in. Hello, I am here.
Hi, Esther.
I am here.
Hello, I am here.
Ben pointed out
mine.
something interesting. This used to not be the case.
My ears.
Ben Ashworth, also part of Altered State Productions, Ben said women cheat just as much as men do. It used to be that was very much not the case. Statistically now, women have worked overtime in catching up, and somebody can Google and hop out there for me. I think, honestly, statistically, may have slightly passed up men. I could be wrong, but I think that they may be a slight edge. So somebody Google that for us if there's some stats out there. First of all,
No need to Google.
who the heck does those search? who does those searches?
I'm like,
stats
what
anyway.
higher being is out there with their little figure
Right. Who knows that?
That's like, they just surpassed the guys.
So
come on.
Even if you're not married, though, if I recently,
you were
within
single.
the last 4 years or 4, 5, 6 years, got into dating because I divorced after many years of marriage, and personally speaking, I could not date more than one woman at the same time. It's too
difficult.
Keeping your story straight and all. I don't like to lie.
You don't know you
But-
don't have
and
to.
I
He
don't-
is
so
he
good
just
there.
And in
nailed
today's
it.
environment,
I love it. You could never be polyamorous.
Well,
then.
you can't. Not at the same time. Polyamorous at one time. I think you should, I don't think it's right nowadays. You can get diseases. There's a lot of reasons, and personally, I couldn't. Now that's not to say I did serial date on Match.
Sure, like
different
a dinner
times.
and a lunch and a this and a that.
Yeah, but not two women at the same
Not in
time.
a committed
I
relationship.
could do. Maybe other people could do it, but I can't.
Gentlemen of our age are
So-
more inclined to not complicate our
And
lives.
real quick, we're going to finish up. We had a couple more good comments that I wanted
You're
to
young
address.
too, huh?
And Robin Smith, thank you for tuning in, because Robin is my mother-in-law. So that should provide some context to how this conversation is going to go from my perspective. So
Oh, you got two women
Hi,
watching
Randall.
that.
I got to throw mine in.
yeah. So David chimed in and he said, here's a tricky question. He says, we were designed to be monogamous. I agree, we were designed by God. He didn't only design us physically.
Tricky question.
Were we? I'm sorry. Thank you for correcting
That
me.
was my question.
Tricky question. Were we designed to be monogamous? I agree we were designed by God. He didn't only design us physically, he designed morality. The mere fact we have physical impulses does not negate that we were also endowed by our Creator by an impulse that often conflicts with instinct. C.S. Lewis addresses this in Mere Christianity. We have an instinct to run away from a burning building, but we have something else that overrides that instinct and tells us that we ought to run into the burning building if a person's life is in danger. Both of those come from God. To only pay attention to physical instinct while ignoring the moral instinct is to miss a huge aspect of our design. I think that's a huge point. I think that's a huge, interesting point to discuss in the conversation. Samantha, right on the heels of that, take away religion. The reason I believe we are monogamous because of our connections we have with certain people. We base relationships with trust, love, honesty, and forgiveness. There's a reason why we get naturally jealous. There's another topic to talk about.
Yeah.
Jealousy. Is jealousy natural? Is there a pro to jealousy? Is there a con to jealousy? That sort of thing. When we think of our partner being somebody else. Christy, thanks for tuning in. Christy Shelton. Ben, let's see. Okay, Monty, you're shouting out names there, so thank you. Joe.
Rodriguez 2020. Yes.
Joseph Mercado.
Yes.
Joseph Mercado said,
I will be your president.
Joseph Mercado is a regular on the show, said, I agree with Tony always, 100%.
Tony with an eye.
Tony with an eye, that's right.
That's
right.
going to be my like. Right here.
So, all right, so
Tony
thanks for
with
tuning in,
Tony with an
guys. Jared Beasley, thanks
He's
for
my
tuning
campaign
in.
manager.
All right, so we got a lot of meat to
away.
chew on there, guys. We got a lot of meat to chew
I'm
on
already
there.
tired, honestly.
Oh,
He's already tired. He's already tired.
He's like, I need
Yeah,
that.
my brain is
This
already
is
already-
exhausting, isn't it?
So take it
All
to
right.
what level you want to take it to, since
Yeah.
you're the newbie, since you're the
Sure.
Yeah.
So I can go first.
Fire away,
Yeah.
Kwame. It's all you. We gave you the
And
floor.
he's the youngest one
because
here,
you're
too.
young
So,
and
yeah,
you're,
I mean,
you're fresh.
I spent about a year just like dissecting this whole aspect of like human interaction, which is like, relationships. And it was not like documented or anything. Like this wasn't organized. It was just in life, right, that I was researching all of this. And I really don't know that this, for instance, the person that brought up jealousy, I don't know that it's a natural state of a human being. I think it's a natural state of an egoic condition, to
I think it's based in the fear of loss.
Ego.
right, possess. And to me, that's not love, right? The idea that you,
I would agree.
that if, like, for instance, if someone that you are with is showing that they are enjoying time with someone else, for whatever the reason may be, for you to feel any type of resentment, to me is immature,
Or
right?
insecurity, right?
And insecurity, right?
Insecurity.
And not real love. And so if we're going to base the legitimacy of monogamy on an egoic reaction. And that's, to me, when I looked at it from the perspective that I was coming from, that seemed to be the primary driving force that we always argue. Because I was kind of challenging everything during that time in my life. I was like, well, I don't feel jealous
Well, I think
anymore.
we should.
Yeah, I was like, I don't feel jealous anymore. For whatever reason was, I just forgot about what it
Can
was.
I ask you a question? I want to ask you a question. On that front, because I actually very much agree.
It's because we're more educated.
In keeping with protocol, Steve is required to have his phone go off
Expelled.
at some point during the show. He's required.
That hasn't happened in
So-
months.
So
I'm sorry.
yeah,
Dad.
he's the one we've hired for the show to have the volume of his phone go off during the show. It's just to show that it can happen. We're all humans,
Yes.
and
We
so
forgive
you know,
you,
yes,
see?
that's
There,
why.
and we
My
love
bad.
you. Back to all love. All love.
And Steve knows right now I'm just giving him a hard time. That's how this works.
I'm turning ready for a shirt.
I think for people to be
wait.
educated about ego, just the fact
Yeah,
that
yeah,
he mentions
absolutely.
something that's
So-
a separate entity
so-
from.
Here, this is my
Wow.
question. This is my question, right? Because I very much agree, right? I'm not a jealous person by nature, right? I'm just not. I can tell you that can be received the wrong way,
Yeah.
right?
So you don't care about me?
Right, exactly.
Right.
Exactly.
Life is beautiful.
It's so
I got that
unusual.
one.
It's
Yeah.
so unusual that it's like
I'm devastated.
I think it's such
Yeah.
a
You like her
mentally unevolved
Sure.
way to be
I got that a
jealousy,
lot.
right?
Some
That
of the
I've
women-
experienced that issue.
Some of the women became mad that I wasn't jealous.
Yes.
Because
Yes.
you don't care.
Because I didn't care. But that didn't make any sense to me. Like,
Right,
I don't know
right.
what it-
That's just a prehistoric way of believing and thinking and existing, much like our parents' culture.
Right.
It's unfortunate because they went through a lot of travesty, I think,
Yeah, no,
and a
yeah,
lot
I'm
of pain and
empathetic to
anguish over
Yeah.
what you stayed at the office late with your secretary and she's hot. I mean,
Like,
when
sometimes it's warranted.
when they're legitimately working.
Yeah.
I'm not.
Right,
I'm not
right.
making excuses. I'm just saying now there are much more open concepts of thinking, and now we are much more secure
Yeah.
in who we are,
Right.
and we have that clear understanding. Like you said, we lay those boundaries down, and then you know, okay, my significant other's line of work, he's out and about,
So-
and there's no jealousy.
Right.
So-
exactly.
Following this trail of thought, right? I really want to clearly specify to Robin Smith and Kim Orsak, who may or may not be watching the show at this time,
Oh, wait,
that I am only.
Joseph, look at
Yeah.
Joseph.
I know Joseph's eyes in trouble. Mom,
Oh
his
my
mom's
God.
tuning in. I want to express that I'm a happily married man.
I eat my young in
He
feces.
said he couldn't have two people because he couldn't afford it.
So
I eat
listen,
my young in feces. Throw feces. Oh,
So-
throw them.
following this,
Animals eat their young.
following this train
Throw
of thought.
feces.
Yeah, throw feces. Yes. Following this train of thought.
Okay, so trying to be serious.
I do think jealousy is an unevolved way of thinking.
Yes.
Right. And we see extremes of it. Right. My wife. I mean, to be honest, one of my targets, so to speak, in ousting the boyfriend that she had for 2 years was that he was overly jealous. And
Bam.
I literally I had a strategy. I executed the strategy flawlessly. It took me.
It's called.
Yeah,
It took me.
that's my strategy.
It took me 30 days to get him booted, and that was it. And I would ask her, about her life and stuff, and let her talk.
He
And,
went
and
deep.
yeah, of course. And she
He
would
was way ahead of his time.
she would say things like, well, he doesn't want me to go to college. Why? Well, he's afraid I'll meet somebody here.
He didn't encourage her
Right.
to be the best that she could be.
Right. And so yeah, I would let her throw him under the bus, and then acknowledge how brilliant she was for doing that. Right. And so
Psychology.
That's
and
Psychology.
wait,
yeah,
back to animals and being.
I will point out that I was a psychology major.
Oh my God! Then you two could have a lot of
and
conversation.
it was like he doesn't like it if I wear tight jeans. Why? Because he doesn't like it when guys stare at me. I'm like, wow, I always take it as a compliment when the girl I'm with
Right,
is
it's-
being looked at by other guys. Wow, that's strange. So just let that bus just drive on by. Just
Well,
boom, boom.
jealousy, but jealousy I think it's usually the person that's jealous
That has
is
issues.
insecure.
Yes, yes, exactly.
But that's not
Go
to
ahead.
say that in today's modern world, if there are panties left on the bed, and your wife walks in and they're not her panties, that you should be a little bit questioning.
A little bit.
yeah,
Oh,
certainly.
okay, now we're
but
gonna
that's
get
not
real.
jealousy. But that's not jealousy.
But in today's society,
bit.
I do think we have. Sometimes we'll take a giant leap, and we'll say, okay, well, yeah, I don't want to be a jealous person. Therefore, the panties on the bed is a natural explanation.
No.
So I don't want to go that far.
No,
I think it's a
But
mutual
but that's not
respect
jealousy,
for
though.
each
At that
other.
point, that's
That's-
entirely logical and
But
reasonable
sometimes
to
in
question.
today's society, we convince ourselves that we can't talk about a truth or a
Or
reality
we can't.
because we'll be looked at as immature or bigoted or for whatever reason. So that's why I brought that
So-
up.
so-
Sometimes it's
Yeah.
okay to be jealous if you got a lot of evidence.
So let me ask. I'm going to kind of go far with this kind of thought, right? And
All for it.
I'm going to throw out an extreme to the chain of thinking. I think jealousy is an uninvolved line of thinking, right? So now, if jealousy is an unevolved line of thinking, is possessing one other person, like saying you are mine,
You're in a committed.
and you can't belong to anybody else. Is that an uninvolved way of
I
thinking?
think they're all rooted in the same.
See what I'm saying?
John
So
mentioned.
if our ego evolved far enough that I'm like, I don't own you, I'm not, right, and we can still be in a relationship together that's special or however you want to define it, right?
Yeah.
But I don't own you, and you can be happy with others, and if my thinking was evolved enough, would I be happy if you're enjoying company with other people?
So I guess I'm trying to understand why, Joe. I'm trying to understand why would jealousy become a rational thought process. I'm kind of stretching this out a little bit because
Yeah,
y'all are going down a
I can
path that
highlight it,
I'm not seeing jealousy being something that's rational or a reasonable response. I mean, if you don't create the situation where the other person that might be sensitive to that issue, if they see panties on a bed that's not theirs,
Okay, now you're talking about
then you're
not jealous.
hey,
I like panties.
that's
They're not jealous. They're mad.
I would be more inclined to be reactive to the thermonuclear explosion about to go off next
for
to
sure.
me.
But you betrayed trust there. You didn't.
Yeah.
It's not so much about the.
It's not about jealousy at that
Yeah.
point. That's
About heading for the hills.
Yeah, breaking the boundaries.
well, and that goes back to
The
the
repercussions.
what
Yeah.
Joanna alluded to earlier, and a couple of us touched on
Yes.
throughout the show, which is what was the expectation at the
Sure.
beginning. So if the expectation at the beginning of the relationship was that there would be a monogamous relationship, and you went outside of that agreement, then you violated the agreement. It has nothing to do with jealousy. It has nothing to do with anything
So let's
else
go
at that
deeper
point.
to the actual question
Okay,
about
go
being
ahead.
monogamous. So if we set boundaries for our human species to be monogamous, when we veer outside those boundaries, there are repercussions. I mean, is that what we're talking about here? If someone or what entity laid that law down, was it religion, was it culture, that we have to be monogamous, and then we veer outside that, then there's negative repercussions.
Yes.
Are we designed to be monogamous so it's easy for us to function within those?
Or to maintain the fulfillment of our egos. Which
Well,
one?
I'm just going back
I mean,
to
that's
the
a
whole
lot.
idea
That-
of
I
this
mean,
being
as
a
y'all are
design
It's heavy
talking,
duty
thing.
stuff. It's heavy duty.
Or was it what he said? Inevitably, it's about your individual relationship with your significant other and
Correct.
the trust
I-
and the love.
I guess
and the
I'm still
commitment.
trying to contain this within this construct of this being a design condition. Our
I can
species
speak on it.
is evolved. It has the ability to converse civilly or uncivilly, reasonable or unreasonable, and our ability to contain what is a natural animalistic need to procreate the species, to
cohabitate.
Yes, those are good words. I'm saying that I don't think there's really anything outside of the cultural and social acceptance of monogamy. Monogamy was developed because of our advanced intellect, our brain power, and our ability to contain ourselves within a monogamous relationship. Now, the deviations to that are saying, hey, I think she's hot, I'm going to go pursue that, forget about the relationship I'm in right now. That's unacceptable to those constructs that we form that boundary to the monogamous style of our species. That's a style, that's a choice, that's an involvement through recent history, go back, 10,000 years.
Because we are such a great species. We can make those decisions.
Well, you're going to have temptation in a whole lot of different areas.
Yes, and I mean, animal species do that. Sure. I mean, if a male lion has a pride of females and he's procreating and he's developing his kingdom, lions, I mean, some of those female lions, they get after that guy like you wouldn't believe. I say, we're right together.
And I'm dating a Leo.
Oh, man.
And they drive out the other ones, too.
How y'all survive each other, I don't even know. If y'all are both Leos?
Yeah.
Oh, my gosh.
We're so sweet to each other.
That's good.
So, I mean, it's just, to me, I just think it's not that difficult a concept. I root it in that thought process that I just described. I think it's a developed thing through recent history of our culture and our social construct. And just probably in the last 50, 60 years, it's kind of morphed into something else where, hey, if it feels good, do it. We've seen that in our social construct. So that creates its own set of problems. So are we excusing polyamorphic relationships? Are we trying to find an excuse to be that way? Or are we still trying to hang on to this thing that we call monogamy? Is there a struggle there? I don't know if there's a struggle. I think you're either going to be faithful or you're going to seek infidelitous relationships. I mean, I don't see it. That's where the conflict is.
So I want to jump to the feed. We've had some great comments, and my this is a perk of being both the daughter and the production crew is that she gets to frustratingly and making faces at me and eyeballs and pointing at the screen. That her comment will be read. She says, breaking the set boundaries in a relationship is cheating. The boundaries differ between each relationship. Jealousy and cheating are very different. I do not disagree at all. So we've had several comments that have been really, really great here. Rachel Anderson, this was just funny, and I want to read it. Animals also eat their young. And throw feces. Should we act like animals as well? Should we practice those as well?
Oh, man. That's kind of like going to the dog park and all the dogs are sniffing butts,
once
right?
A year
right. Oh, yeah, once a year in Vegas.
Species has gone beyond that.
Once a year in Vegas,
because I'm not really into sniffing butts. I just,
Scott here, after Esther chimed in, he says, "Great, now we get filtered, Steve. Thanks, Esther."
And we throw verbal feces.
We throw verbal feces. We do. Absolutely. Roger Hernandez. Thanks for tuning in, brother. Roger is a regular on the show. Great guy. Great realtor. Just all around great guy. Thanks for being on the show. Ashley has provided definitions for us. Monogamy, polygamy, polyandry, and polyamory. We're throwing around some big poly words here throughout the show, so she's got some definitions working for you there. Angie, thanks for tuning in. Angie Cobb is in of all these groups here. I've known her the longest of everybody in this group.
2 weeks.
She and I grew up as little kids together down the street from each other. So I've known her for like 40 years. It's pretty wild, yeah. Super sweet gal. Scott, now we're talking about panties. You've got my attention.
You got my attention.
Okay, so David chimed in with another great thought here. Noteworthy. It is quite often the case that people who get most jealous in a relationship also tend to be the same people who cheat.
It's projection.
Yes, it's projection. Absolutely. If I'm cheating, it's very likely that this person must be cheating. That's the thinking process. Very true. Christy had a great thought here. Yeah. It's not possession; it's an agreement. Right.
Mm-hmm.
That's the marriage contract. It is an agreement, absolutely. Samantha said, a lot of people think that jealousy is equal to love when it's actually possessiveness. However, it's still a very human emotion.
Yep.
It takes...
Talk about Marcia.
Okay, I will. Yep. It takes an amount of trust to recognize that it's self-insecurities. With that being said, I still get jealous when girls look at my man. But I'm secure enough to know that those girls don't matter to him. There we go. Okay, so good stuff. Gwen, thanks for joining in. Christy said, is monogamy an evolutionary progression? That's another interesting kind of angle. That's actually a really fascinating thought to me because for me, I think that monogamy is a very old concept. I think it dates back to the dawn of man.
The oldest.
However, on the flip side, I can see an evolutionary argument for it. We were kind of alluding to this before the show, that we may have a polyamorous nature or wiring or whatever, but because of the difficulties of operating in that kind of a society, it makes more sense to operate under a monogamous structure.
Especially now with concealed carry.
100%.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
The immediacy of dealing with your jealousy is
Well,
right on your hip.
And imagine this though. I mean, like children born from multiple different mates and all that stuff, and like how do we exercise responsibility and raising them and paying for and all this stuff. There's just a bunch of different just from a pure functional standpoint, it would be more complex to have a polyamorous society, I think. That's
free will.
I think it'd be
It's our
harder
free
to
will.
have a polyamorous relationship within present society, but if society were organized differently, I don't think that it would be.
No.
Who knows?
I think,
That's a valid point. You may
Joe,
be.
there's an interesting angle to this. I just thought of it. There, in film culture, there was a movie that was produced back in the 70s, I believe. It was called Logan's Run. Everybody kind of remembers that, where the middle-aged or the near middle-aged people were being bumped off for population control. Yet the society built itself on a very free-loving, free relationship open relationships. There were no marriages. There were no real solid relationships. So you would beam in whoever was on like a Match.com of the time of that film. You get zapped in somebody's apartment and say, okay, let's go have sex. That was literally one of the lines in the movie.
Sounds like Hollywood.
Well, yeah, that too. So in film culture, it kind of shows that it could develop into something like that. So
and the one thing
we could lose all our monogamous relationship culture.
One thing I highlight on that, and just maybe it's just me personally, but a good amount of what I'm actually looking for when I am trying to connect with women is not just sex, and primarily not even sex. But people still
mental note.
Sometimes. Sometimes.
Write this down.
Give me your phone number.
They don't care.
Give me your phone number.
They're more concerned.
They're
They're
this.
more
I'm
concerned that I'll connect with other women on an emotional or like a
I think that's a big
You
part.
can't compete with that.
Right.
You cannot compete with intellect, and you cannot compete with an organic, real
I think we
connection.
should be calling this there for sure.
And I really think if we lived in that Logan's Run society, we would still partner up into couples, because I really do believe in the actual question. Marcia, hi. Hey, love you, Marcia Bailey Merrill. But I do believe, because you enjoy someone's company and their presence and their conversation and what they bring to the table. It's not, you're right, it's not always like, oh, well, she's hot. Well, we all think, Kim Kardashian's hot or whatever, but it's just it's a view. It's a moment.
matter of taste.
Yeah, it's a moment.
Personal
But
preference.
do you want to be in a relationship? I mean, do you want to have no offense, Kardashians, but do you want to have a conversation with that?
Not really.
Okay, that's what I'm saying.
But
So
see,
that's
that
why
would take
women get
time.
really jealous about the emotional, in-depth
I get it.
connection,
But
because
I think
that stuff
should
is
be
heavy.
always. I don't know. I just feel like that should be something that should be able to be explored no matter what. You never know what.
You'll quit exploring. I really believe
will.
that when you find someone that.
Well,
you
I
gotta
think
take-
But where the
continue to
Logan's Run
explore
scenario
that,
comes
that's
in,
why.
that would take
You know
time
what?
to develop. So you're in a transitional phase.
Or I just
So-
have a profession that allows me to explore.
I'll kind of shift gears now and head the other direction, since I went down the polyamorous trail.
Yeah.
That sounds like a.
I'm gonna reel it in.
Polyamorous is not glamorous.
All of a sudden, I feel like I was in like
sounds glamorous.
Dorothy. I could say, "We are on the polyamorous trail." I could just say,
Brick Road.
Oh,
Wow. He went there.
yep.
You're good, buddy.
Yeah,
Wow.
we need a little more. Than
yeah, more wine.
Yeah, please.
You're looking empty there.
A little more Chardonnay, please.
I need it.
Chardonnay.
I'll go down the other side here. Is that I do have a very specific a belief, and I do believe that we were created. I do believe we were designed for a monogamous relationship, and that doesn't mean that, as I think other people have said in the feed, that we don't have inclinations, right? And I think honestly that we may have inclinations that cause us to evolve, right? We're inclined to be jealous, right? I think some things, like, in other words, no pain, no gain. Like, I go to the gym, I can't lift, 500 pounds today. So I start with 100 or whatever, and I'm working my way up. Well, I start with a place of jealousy, right? Because I'm not mature. When I'm born, I can't walk. I have to struggle to walk. And so I have an inclination of jealousy, and I work against that. It challenges me intellectually to evolve. And I think there's a lot that backs up the idea that we were created for a monogamous relationship. For instance,
The word designed?
yeah, I believe that. I really do. For instance, if you are divorced, the odds of being divorced in your second marriage, statistically, go way up, and then they exponentially increase beyond that. So it's the odds, like the percentages of having a sex. Not that it can't happen, of course. Obviously, plenty of people who remarry and stay married forever.
A great example of this is Elizabeth Taylor.
Yes. But yes, just statistically speaking, the odds are that it breaks down more and more, right? Yes. So I genuinely believe that I use this analogy, like if you take two pieces of tape and they're fresh off the tape roll and you stick them together, it's pretty difficult to pull them apart. But if you pull them apart and then you re-stick them together again, it's a lot easier.
The adhesion, you lose the adhesion.
You lose your adhesion.
Exactly.
There's so many marriages. There we go.
Exactly. And
I lose the adhesion.
Exactly. I literally believe that we're designed with a certain amount of adhesion, so to speak, and that's where I'm all bringing this back to what she said to you about you will stop wanting to have those connections. I'm not joking when I say that my wife is my best friend. Mm-hmm. Like I'd rather, like, if somebody
if you
says
had a free moment,
right. It's like, hey, let's go out and do X, Y, Z. I'm like, if she doesn't want to go, I don't want to go. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Because
you enjoy that experience.
Yeah, I'd rather hang out with her. I have a good time. Like, I have a better time, statistically speaking, in my life. I'm like, if I'm measuring, like, if I hang out with her, I have a better time than if I go hang out with other people, right? So I think that's
jealous.
I think that's what she was alluding to, right?
That even if we were in a free
she's gotten to a point in her life, she's evolved, that she's comfortable. Well, she used to not be, because I acknowledge I can be a dominating person in a conversation. After 24 years together, she'll call me on my BS, right? She'll check me, and
that's fabulous.
And she's comfortable with that, and
you're okay with it,
and I'm okay with it. She'll check my thinking.
It's not world-ending.
No, exactly, and it causes me to be better, and it challenges me to be better, and she makes me want to be a better man.
And monogamous.
And monogamous, absolutely.
Because she allows you to be you freely and without inhibition and without being judged. And I'm telling you, when you find someone like that, you're able to be who you are.
I'll be very transparent. I'll be the first guy. I've said this many times. I'm like, the first thing I want to do, as respectfully as I can say this, first thing I want to do is, like, God, high five on the whole woman thing. You really dialed it in.
God.
Right. You really dial it in. I was like, it literally last thing created woman. So to me, top of the charts. right? So I'm a big fan of woman.
Oh, that's good.
Heck of a job on that one.
We're going to give it
That was
thumbs
deep.
up.
Yeah, 2 thumbs up.
I'm a big fan of
Yeah.
woman.
So, but I think we have these. I think we have these challenges mentally. Is what I'm saying is that is it natural or is our first instinct, so to speak, to be jealous? I think so, right? Just like it is. I use the analogy with my daughter. Like, I never had to like spank her, get on, because all I had to do was raise my voice, and she would start crying, right? And so that's where we started in our relationship, but she's evolved in our relationship. That's not the case. Like we can talk more. So just the same, we may start from a position of jealousy, but we evolve in our thinking.
Yeah.
It becomes more. And so just the same, I may be looking at other women, I want that one, and I want that one, I want them all, you know.
Yeah.
And we evolve in our thinking to monogamy. That's
Leave that.
my take. All right, so I talked a whole heck of a lot.
That
But you can
is,
still love
I don't know who that is that
Yeah,
made that
they're
comment.
not putting their
That's
name.
good.
No, I mean, it's okay to appreciate
Let's say
a
that.
beautiful woman. You,
I do too. I
as
do
long as you
too.
don't salivate, you don't
And,
run
and,
after
and,
her.
that,
Right.
and that's the beauty of both genres or both
Yeah.
sexes, is to say that's a beautiful man. No disrespect to the person I'm with. It's
Yeah.
just, okay, that's a beautiful man. And him acknowledging a beautiful woman. I don't find that
Yeah,
being
but don't lay it down too
disrespectful to
thick, 'cause
me.
you're making me nervous now talking about what a beautiful man I am.
Oh, I'm
Because my wife
not
said that when I-
Hey,
not jealous at all.
only 'cause
but
you're a
you know
Tony
what?
and a
What's
Tony
that
and
old
a
adage?
Tony.
You know, is that you can be in
Dial it back,
you can
Tony.
be in
Dial
a
it back.
committed relationship,
I
and
just
yet
think
the old
we're
adage is
humans.
that
Yes.
you can look at the menu, you just can't order.
That's right.
That's an old staple. So right.
Yeah,
That's a great
absolutely.
concept right
You know,
That one right there.
Facebook
I like
user,
that.
I don't know who you are.
we the wife and I have reached that point in our relationship where we'll comment on actors or actresses, you know, like, oh yeah, she's very attractive. Whatever. We've gotten to that safe zone where we're okay with
Safe zone.
we're okay with commenting on the attractiveness of another person. It's totally okay.
And
So-
you're pretty cute. I gotta admit.
yes, Tony warned me earlier. I just couldn't touch his
Whoa,
thigh, so
whoa.
I think I've done it a couple times. It's my bad.
Really glad
So
he's sitting
I'm gonna run my
Yes,
fingers through his
because
thick
you've
hair in a
been
minute.
rubbing
and
all
so-
over you. Tell your
so,
wife I was so good.
where the heck are we at in time wise in the show? I don't
Yeah,
want
where
to.
are
I don't
we?
want to go crazy here. Okay,
3 minutes.
good.
Oh, Lordy.
Okay.
Are we rating?
So, Judy Maldonado has been on the show once before. No, yes,
Has she?
Judy, yes.
Yeah.
You've been on the show.
think
It's
so.
been a long
Yeah.
time. I totally forgot. Judy, great gal. Thanks for tuning in. Marcia said she was the one that shouted out to you earlier.
Yes.
Hi, Tony.
I'm helping her buy a house right now.
Ash.
Another shameless plug. Yes,
Oh,
and we are
okay.
going to get you that house.
Very good, very good. Ash, scroll up. I thought we had a rabbit hole. She's talking about my rabbit trail thing earlier there.
Yeah.
Let's see. Tina says, Joe, that is the way God intended marriage to be. You're blessed. I am blessed. I am. I married out of my league. I'm the first to admit that. So I just had a good sales pitch early on. So
About to start crying.
she was. I always say I got her under contract when she was young and naive. So.
Just sucker for the fairy tale.
She was 19. I'm like, you need to sign here, ma'am.
That's right.
Sign here.
Really?
Okay.
Okay.
Okay, Tony. let's get rid of that.
Sappy.
Get the other Tony.
She's way smarter now. I don't think she would marry me again. So
She's super cool. She is super cool.
she is super cool.
I like
Terry Brian Bending, God intended for man and woman to be one. Scripture. Yeah, I agree. I agree, and that's the whole adhesive thing. That's that I was getting to earlier. Tape. Once it's pulled apart, it gets a lot easier to pull it apart again. But if it's been pulled apart, Scripture also says that God makes all things new. So
Time
anyway,
heals all wounds.
Marsha Bailey, you go girl. She's giving you a shout out there. Yeah,
Hey,
yeah.
Marsha.
All right, so
She cracks me up.
this is a subject I think we could really, dive into for, another hour. I don't know. I'm at that moment where I'm like, we can wrap up, or we can like dive into a couple more heavy duty.
I think we need to go
Questions.
out while we're ahead.
We're
We
ahead.
have not done what Joe usually does, is digs that hole really deep, and it's like, oh my gosh, that's a really deep hole.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe go to the wine rating.
Yeah, this will be like the first, I think, wine show that we actually would end on time. So,
Shocking.
yeah,
Do we have the sheets?
Yeah, it's
Producer, what do
pretty
you say?
close to being on time. Close to being on time. So today's wine, to recap, is called the Kurang Reserve.
It's
the
really good.
Kurang Reserve from southeastern Australia. Very light, fruity kind of a flavored wine. We had citrus and peach with some very light oak tones. I can definitely. There's a little hint of oak. It's not a super oaky Chardonnay, which I like.
That's right.
It's just a light hint of oakiness, and also a little white peach. I can definitely taste the peachiness in there. So very interesting. Very interesting. So Kwame, it was doing a fast thing. So he was not participating. I literally think. I think you are the only guest on the Wine No Wine show that didn't have a glass of wine. We had one on the artist edition of the show.
Okay.
So that was the first over there, first over here. Fasting, massively respect, and I make a condition that the guests coming on the show have a glass of wine, at least a sip, because we rate the wine, we talk about the wine, that sort of thing. But fasting is a thing I massively
He
respect.
put it behind his ears.
Yes.
Like,
It's something I massively respect, so he got a pass on that. So we're letting him off the hook today. Oh, gosh, Lee,
price point. Is there a price point on
I
it?
need to pass this out.
Oh, are you giving us homework?
No,
judge
no.
it based
Wine
on,
grape.
well,
judge
yeah.
it based on how you guys felt about it.
Yeah.
We'll let you go last then.
I know.
What?
Well, he doesn't have one.
I
'cause
didn't-
He didn't judge. He didn't drink.
I didn't.
Here, I'll pass it on.
He
Okay.
didn't get one.
Okay. I thought I had 5. I don't know what on there. Okay, we're gonna rate the wine. We'll start with Steve.
Okay, well, I hate kind of bending these things around, so I'm just going to basically say 4.75 on this one. This one was actually one of the best white, light wines that I've had on the history of this show. So that's it in a
Nice.
nutshell. I think it finished well. It didn't offend my palate. It was everything that the write-up said it was. So, yeah, it was very accurate. I loved it. 4.75.
All right.
This is a rarity for me because I'm a Sauvignon Blanc girl. And I like kind of a little bit of drier, sometimes oakier. But this was actually very, very smooth, not so fruity and sweet. I really enjoyed that. And I could see this served as, because I got to go here. I could see this served like at a bridal shower. It was pretty. I don't know how to explain it. I gave it a 5. Like, it was really, really good and respectfully good. So, 5.
You know what? I do red and white both ways, so I'm pretty unbiased in that sense. And I have to say that this is a wine club wine. I'm a member of a wine club, so I get these great wines from all around the world delivered to my door. If you want that hookup, let me know. Shameless plug. And I will say that this wine club has killed it on the white wines. They really have. Mm-hmm. I've had some more kind of lesser reds. I was like, this is good, but it doesn't. It's a 3, right? But the whites for me have pretty much been. I think the lowest white wine was like a 3.75 that we rated on the show. But consistently they've done really well with
Was
the
that
whites.
the phonograph wine?
Yes. Yeah.
Got you.
Yep.
Yeah, I
Sure
remember
was.
that.
But consistently they've done really well. And the last time I had the Southeastern Australia Chardonnay, Ugalila, blew my socks off. Best Chardonnay I've ever had. That was a 5. So since that's a 5, this is a 4.75. I agree with you. It's really good. Right, for me, it's really good. I don't want to bias Tony. He may hate it.
You know what
This
this
is
is
a guy
saying?
and
This
girl
is saying
thing
that the Australian vintages coming out are challenging our other A country, Argentinian wine.
Oh, yeah.
And so
It's fantastic.
I mean, they're killing it down under.
they
Not
really
down
have done.
I just wanted to say
No pun
that.
intended.
It really does make me want to go down under. So
Oh, God. Wow.
Ed Camp
I
Tieback.
was going to work that one
We
in.
almost went through the whole show.
Ed
without
Camp
it.
Tieback there. A campism. A campism.
I can't control it. I can't take it.
All right, Tony. What are you going to give it?
Come
I
on,
don't
Tony.
like Chardonnays.
Ah, okay.
I just don't care for them. This is excellent. This I'll give it a 4.5.
All right.
Wow. It's really it's dry, but a little bit fruity.
See, I like that dryness.
It's smooth.
It's got a great balance. It's got a great balance. It really does.
I really don't like Chardonnay.
But this is something that you could actually
this I would
drink.
Any day.
Perfect.
It is actually a very by itself drinkable kind of wine.
You missed out.
Yeah, I feel like
No,
that.
after fasting, just look it up. Or we'll meet.
Yeah.
I got 20 days left.
There we go.
Yep.
In 20 days, we're going to have wine.
So, a fantastic wine. All right, cue the music.
Oh, no.
It's so early, she doesn't even know what to do. She's like, what? I need to have music ready? Guys, we thank you for tuning in every week to the Whine Show. This show really is, the mission of the show is to save America one civil conversation at a time. Guys, we have a GoFundMe page. We're raising money for the Whine Show to buy some more equipment. I need to upgrade. All the guests need to have mics. We really do need to have our own individual mics. And that's a lot of money. It's bank. It's bank. And I've spent a lot of money on the show myself and presently make no money. So this is an endeavor of love, an endeavor of passion for me. And I will continue to dump money into this show because I believe in the mission of the show. But if you believe in the mission of the show, please throw some money at me. Hit me up on the GoFundMe page or send me a message here on the show and I'll connect you with the GoFundMe page and make a small donation, $5, $500. I don't care. Any amount helps. We definitely appreciate it. And I appreciate you tuning into the show and being a part of the show. If you can't donate to the show, totally cool. It's all right.
Just watch.
Share the show, like the show, and be a part of the mission. Talk about it. Bring your friends. We'll see you here next week, Thursday at 7 o'clock for the artist edition of the show. Friday at 5 o'clock next week. Crank up the music. We're going to dance.
Hey, bravo.
All right.